4 basically follows Superman, who has to deal with the evil creation of Lex Luthor, known as Nuclear Man, who's basically an evil counterpart of Superman, able to absorb sunlight with which gives him certain abilities. Uh, but there is more to the character than that. But not much more to the movie. Okay, what are your general thoughts about Superman 4 Quest for Peace?
Well, Lex Luthor, the criminal mastermind, is back.
Which is another one of the best things about the third movie was he wasn't in it, and now we getting back into the problems again with Lex coming back.
Okay, so shall we start off?
Let's just go with the story. What did you think about the story?
Let me see.
Okay,
the start of the newspaper is in some kind of trouble, right?
Yes. It was being bought out by somebody else, by a rich guy. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a pretty good storyline for me because it did kind of tackle on the path. It was like it was focusing on an undertone about real news versus propaganda. Mm-hmm. So I did kind of like that. It was like a moral thing. It was like a moral situation for the film.
And it was like,
so I did like that.
And like in the other like Superman they didn't really focus on like except for when Lois and Clark were talking, they didn't really focus on like the Daily Planet that much. Even though that's where they spend like half their time.
Yeah, they didn't. On this one, they do a little bit more focus on the Daily Planet, which again, that's good. That's a 1-up for this.
Yep, thumbs up. Okay, David Warfield. That's who's finna. He was taking over. Perry White. Mm-hmm. Okay. Taking over.
So that's like the one dilemma. One storyline. Then there was a subplot with, of course, Clark telling Lois his secret, which felt wasted again.
Okay, he told her before in another movie. He erased it,
which she came back and later on said she remembered, but then it seemed like she forgot again. Because remember, this the one where she jumped into the water to prove that he was Superman.
Yeah.
Which I still don't understand why he didn't jump in the water to get her. He just kind of ran. I can understand him not flying in and getting her, but he's like, why?
And like shredding his clothes.
He could have just easily jumped in. I mean, he's Superman. He can take that. But I was like, oh, okay.
Okay, so if he would have jumped in, she would have thought that was Superman. He was still in his suit.
No, if he would have just jumped in without changing, because remember, every time something jumps off, he changes.
Yeah.
So, it was her trying to find out that if he's Superman or not. That storyline was waste. That was a waste of time.
Okay. Okay. Newspaper. And then it was something about the Soviet Union and nuclear war.
They were trying to, I guess, quest for peace. They weren't trying to use it, so that's why Superman was like, he get rid of all of them. Yeah, because he did go to that summit talking about that. Remember, talking about how they shouldn't do it and they should all just try to strive for peace and all of that, and had all the different nations and stuff there. Like that was another nice one. They was pushing the issue a little bit too hard due to the issue of nuclear arms in real life, but that was like another.
So they wanted Superman to do something.
I don't think it was about him actually doing it, but he was kind of like there trying to help the process, I guess.
Okay. okay, they said, okay, Superman received a letter from the schoolboy about all of that, and then he went to his Fortress of Solitude. Come on, help me out here. Cause this movie is going in and out. That's
the part where it said the inconsistencies. Like, okay, was the kid said he wanted there not to be nuclear war because they was in class talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Superman, I guess because that letter said that he would do something about it. Why he didn't do something about it before? Fine, okay. And so he said, okay, we need to figure out a way to do this. So he decided that if all the nations cooperate, he'd get rid of all the nuclear weapons, which they all shot up into space, and he caught them all, and he threw them all to the sun. That was a really bad idea. You don't throw a whole bunch of nuclear warheads into the sun.
They collected all of the nuclear and put them into a net and then threw them in the sun. Okay.
The sun. That's the last place you should probably throw it. But okay. Also, the final storyline is Lex Luthor
breaking out of prison.
Which that literally made no sense. Whoever wrote that script should never write a script again.
His nephew came riding up on
into the prison
in that car,
and then both the guards get in the car and fly off the edge of this cliff, which they should have died, but they didn't, and it kind of goes back to that old school campiness.
Mm-hmm.
But Lex talking about he developed a means. Not now, since he's been in jail a few years, he's become some kind of genetic mastermind, a genetic manipulation. And he was like, okay, I'll just create a clone of Superman and then have Superman fight the clone. I was like, where did you get that from, and how did you do the resources?
And then he got a strand of his hair from a museum, which was holding up a weight.
And he just cut it with some shears? No, some bolt cutters?
Right. Okay, if it can hold up a weight
of 1,000 pounds,
it could not be cut.
And I was like, who wrote this? Now, the Nuclear Man... Okay, let's just go to the characters. Screw everybody but Superman. Nuclear Man was an interesting idea. It was a good idea in theory because he was a credible bad guy. And like I told you, I actually like the fight scene with him more than I like the fight scene that Superman had with the 3 Kryptonians in part 2.
Mm-hmm.
Cause in this one, he was more destructive. Remember when he was like fighting the cops and stuff? He was blowing up stuff. He was just shooting out blasts and stuff. He was like, I like that. Mm-hmm. Even when they were fighting on the moon, I liked that. That was pretty cool. So as far as the ideal Nuclear Man, I was behind it. Execution. Nuclear Man was created when Lex Luthor put Lex Luthor put the strand and made it some kind of goop or something, some kind of plasma, whatever, like a sack or something, an egg sack. Attached it to a warhead. Somehow, this egg sack survived going through the atmosphere and all that, and in space, where Superman threw the warhead missile into the sun, and then the egg sack turned into Nuclear Man. Which Nuclear Man came all the way back to Earth, looking specifically for Lex Luthor, who knew that he was going to be at that one, laying at that at a certain point. And I was like,
mm-hmm.
Who wrote this script? Like, that was dumb. If they said that Lex Luthor had acquired some of his genetic DNA from the first movie, and then while he was in prison, they were cloning him over a period of years, which led to Nuclear Man being, you know what I'm saying, being born. Fine, and it would have made for a better story because if that was the case, Nuclear Man could have broke Lex out of prison, which would have made more sense.
Right, because his nephew breaking him out of prison with that is ridiculous.
That was just stupid. And his nephew had to be one of the worst characters in the entire series. This is one of the very few series I could say I can't even name a top 10 character list.
No,
because I didn't even like Lois Lane's character. Because not only was she, I understand Lois Lane's character is like that, but not to the point like in this one. She's a complete douchebag. And what was it? Clark is sitting here trying to talk to her and be honest with her about stuff. And she keeps trying to make it off as them being actual friends, but you can't see them actually being friends.
I couldn't even be friends with her.
You know, she came off as more of just like a douchebag. So I ain't got no words for Miss Lois Lane. Again, I did like, but this is something I did notice, and I did point it out while we was watching it. Where was Lana Lane's character? She had more chemistry with Clark than Lois Lane had in all of the movies with Clark.
Right.
And I would have liked to see her character in the next movie because that would have been a great story arc. See where it goes. And remember that love triangle I brought up in the last review? It would have been nice to see that. But instead, we got the other chick.
That man's daughter.
Yes. And I actually end up liking her better than Lois.
She,
because she actually develops throughout the film.
Okay, she likes Clark, but Lois likes Superman. I mean, which is...
Like, Lois got jealous that this woman, who looks a ton better, is a heck of a lot more successful, has more presence, charisma, and beauty than she does. She gets mad that this girl likes Clark. Because what was it? She started talking bad about Clark. Oh, he's a Boy Scout. You don't want no goody two-shoes like that. Oh, he wouldn't be interested in you. It's like, really? So, like I did not. Again, I hated Lois' character in this. And again, the girl, I cannot remember her name. What is her name? Lacey Warfield. Yeah. She is played by Mariel Hemingway. She was a better character than Lois. Like if there was a top 10 list, she made that list. Now, the one thing I didn't like about her character was how Nuclear Man was all of a sudden attracted to her.
Yeah, that's what I was just finna say that. Like, why did he want her all of a sudden?
Yeah, there was like no build up for that. He's like seeing the newspaper like, I want her. I was like, what? And he talked it like he was like a caveman. Kill Superman. I want cereal. Like, what? Give me food. Well, talking like Edgar off Men in Black. More sugar in water.
Yeah, it was kind of like he had a couple nuclear screws missing.
But like the characters again, I could take on leave. The casting. Again, I did like Mariel Hemingway as Lacey Warfield. Christopher Reeves is pretty cool as Clark Kent. He still does that thing with too much of a goody two-shoes. Way too much. And it's borderline unrealistic.
Right. He needs to loosen up right about now.
Yeah, because everybody has a darker side. Everybody gets ticked off.
Right.
You know?
Lois, are you gonna...
Yeah, that's...
He pushing his glasses.
Yeah.
Lois, are you gonna finish? Lois.
Margot Kidder does a good job. Just don't like the character Lois Lane. Gene Hackman does a good job as Lex Luthor. It's just the character. It's just his poor written. So as far as the casting is alright. Casting is alright. Special effects, straight up crap.
Okay.
Except for some of the more practical effects. Again, when Nuclear Man started attacking, he was blowing stuff up. That was great. That was entertaining for me. When it was him fighting Superman, that was entertaining. When it was on the moon, and they were throwing blows and they were throwing each other and stuff like that. Fine, I like that.
Okay, did when he carried Lacey into outer space, she didn't have on no kind of suit.
She should have died. She should have died. If not for the bad CGI, the bad effects, she would have died from, let's see, going to the upper stratosphere. She would have froze to death and or lost oxygen. She would have burned up probably in the atmosphere, but she would have burned up in the atmosphere. And if she happened to make it through the atmosphere, she would have died in space. And of course, these fools breathe in space. You give Nuclear Man and Superman a pass because they're aliens, and in some incarnations of Superman, he can like go into space without air. In some incarnations, he can't. But the chick Lacey, she clearly shouldn't have been there.
Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say.
I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry.
Fighting. Okay, it's light that keeps him like. Okay, it was kind of dark on the moon, or was it just enough light?
I think it was just enough. It doesn't like Nuclear Man. His bad thing is he's like Superman. Gets charged from the sun, gets his power from the sun. His problem is as soon as he's like something like deters that sunlight, he shuts down. That's could have been worked on a little bit better. If they just say he probably got weaker, like if he's stronger than Superman in direct sunlight, but not in direct sunlight, he gets a little bit weaker.
Right, like as soon as like Superman got him in the elevator, he just
shut down. And then I still don't understand how Superman dropped the elevator onto the moon. I would have like dug a big hole, put it in there, and just buried it. He just said, "Boom." So, and I want to remember. I don't know if you realize this too. There's one part that was in the sewer. I think I'm not sure if it's the third one or it was this one, but Superman was trying to stop the subway train or something, and he was flying in the subway. And I'm like, did you see how bad those effects were? But if you notice, those were the same effects from one of the earlier movies where he was like flying like this. Stock footage. I was like, wow.
Okay. I didn't notice that. I don't see anything about that. I don't know if it.
But like as far as the script goes, the script is just trash. We have just went into it. One of the parts of the movie, I think it could have worked better. It was an interesting idea. Was the part where Lois and Lacey and Clark and Superman were supposed to be having a meeting. And every time Clark showed up, you know what I'm saying? He had to keep doing that where Superman show up, then something happened. Then every time Superman go off, Clark shows up. And it's,
well, where's Clark? I don't know.
Yeah, Clark come in like, oh, I got some wine. Oop, I forgot some ice. Then Superman come in like, oh, did y'all hear that? Somebody's calling me for some help. Oh. It was an interesting sequence. It was kind of funny.
At one point, it could have been like, they're never here at the same time.
Yeah. But the whole Lois Lane Clark romance thing, terrible. Especially the one part where they were flying in the air together. And I think he let go of her, or he threw her, and she just like, it looked like she was flying, like she was gliding. It was like, no, she would have just went straight down.
Yeah, exactly.
Like all of that, and that was like ode to the first movie, so it feels rehashed because they did that in the first movie. But the story, the four parts of the story were interesting. They just weren't done right. You have again the corporation, the Daily Planet being taken over. So that's a dilemma in his personal life. You have this kind of love triangle between Lois and Lacey. That's another pretty good dilemma in his personal life. You have the rise of Nuclear Man, which is a threat to his superhero life.
Yes.
And then